Hey guys, tonight we embark on an immersive journey through time into the heart of the Mali Empire. Picture yourself amid the vibrant chaos at the empire's peak, a world rich in culture, commerce, and architecture. The air thrums with the rhythmic sounds of markets filled with merchants peddling wares from every corner of the known world. You move through bustling streets lined with mud brick buildings that practically hum with centuries of stories. But, hold your camels, life here isn't just an exotic escapade. You'll quickly realize you might not survive a day amid its complexities. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Almost instantly, you find yourself amidst the cacophony of sounds in the bustling heart of the Mali Empire. It's the early 14th century, and the empire has reached astounding heights under the reign of Mansa Musa. You take in the vibrant social tapestry around you. Traders haggle energetically over gleaming gold nuggets that look more like props from a blockbuster treasure movie than currency. Scholars engage in intense debates over scrolls and texts, and everyday citizens navigate their daily lives, their attire a stunning blend of colors reflecting the rich diversity of their surroundings. As you take a breath, the distinct scent of spices and dust dances on the warm wind, mingling with the distant aroma of savory stews cooking over communal fires. Historians often argue whether the empire's true power lay in its wealth or its social cohesion, but standing here, you feel both elements wrap around you, inseparable and profound. It's a world away from modern conveniences, and as lush as it appears, you have to admit, the absence of air conditioning could be a deal-breaker. Sahara winds tickle your senses, whispering tales of the long caravans stretching beyond the horizon. These caravans are the lifeblood of this empire, vital in shuttling goods and ideas across vast, unforgiving deserts. It's a dirtier job than your air-conditioned sedan commute, but one that's central to this bustling society. You wander down a cobbled path towards the animated discussions emanating from a cluster of traders, each gesturing earnestly as they showcase the empire's proudest commodities, salt, gold, and even human lives, a stark reminder of the empire's reliance on slavery, a sobering piece of history that leaves you grappling with the morality of its prosperity. A nearby merchant offers you a sip of water that's warmer than your morning coffee but refreshing nonetheless, a rare kindness in this ancient, bustling world. Your wanderings bring you to the grand spectacle of a traditional welcome ceremony. Musicians play rhythmic beats on chorus while dancers move with graceful precision, their movements animated in declaring the empire's cultural richness. It's an experience sure to leave you entranced, though if you decide to join in the dance, note that sandal malfunctions are not on the Mali Empire's list of acceptable injuries. In the heart of the streets, a griot captures your attention with a tale of grand conquests and ancestry, their voice both soothing and authoritative. These men and women are walking, talking history books, the keepers of noble lineages and historical dramas, adding a vibrant layer to the empire's intricate social fabric. You might even wonder how they managed to keep all those names straight without a smartphone search history to rely on. As shadows lengthen in the late afternoon, echoes of laughter and chatter fill the air, a timeless piece of humanity that even crossing centuries doesn't erase. With the sun dipping low, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet, you realize the sheer vitality of Mali thrums not just in its wealth of gold, but in its people, their stories, struggles, and exultations woven together like the intricate patterns in a Kent cloth. Curiously, in this world without Wi-Fi, the longing for connectivity takes a more tactile form, with tightly knit communities supporting each other amidst the complexities of daily Mali life. You may not have survived 24 hours in their world, but their resilience and cohesiveness leave a lasting impression, a testament to the strength of human connection even in the harshest of realities. With the sky now veiling the empire under its starry canopy, it hits you, these bustling streets, clamor of markets, and vibrant souls are echoes of an era that once shaped the world, casting a long shadow of influence across continents. As you prepare to leave this enchanting, but utterly unair-conditioned, world, you take with you the essence of Mali, nestled somewhere between awe, amusement, and an odd appreciation for climatic insulation. Sand stretches infinitely before you, an ocean of golden dunes rolling beneath the vast African sky. Welcome to the Sahara, a place where the heat feels like it's giving you a warm, relentless hug you can't quite escape. You find yourself on the fringe of the Mali Empire, ready to embark on a journey across these seemingly inhospitable sands with a caravan of traders. Picture yourself mounted on a sturdy camel, your new best friend, even if it occasionally grunts its protest at hauling rolls of precious textiles or heavy sacks of salt. Salt might seem commonplace to us now, sitting on our tables in little shakers, but back in the 14th century, it was the equivalent of gold. Quite literally. The Mali Empire flourished partly because of its control over the trade routes that trafficked in salt, gold, copper, and ivory. Imagine that, people traversing the Sahara Desert, not for the Instagram-worthy scenery, but for bricks of salt. Strange as it sounds, salt was crucial. It preserved food, flavored it, and was a necessity for life itself. While we debate whether adding salt to your meal before tasting is a sin, these traders risked their lives crossing the Sahara to procure it. As you journey, the hypnotic rhythm of the camel's gait eventually lulls you into a state of peace, despite the desert heat wrapping around you like an unwanted blanket. You glimpse locals trading stories at makeshift camps. Remarkably, their laughter and animated gestures bring life to the barren expanse. Historically, the Sahara was not so much a barrier as it was a bridge linking the Mediterranean world with sub-Saharan Africa. Trade routes ran like invisible veins across the landscape, pulsating with the exchange of goods and ideas. Historians still argue whether these routes existed as early as 1000 BCE or began with the empire's rise, but what's certain is that they formed the artery of Mali's wealth. During the day, sand whispers beneath your feet, and at night, it cools down to a manageable but chilly temperature, leaving you thankful for the warmth of a campfire. You listen as tales of Timbuktu, and its transformation from a trading post to the legendary city of knowledge, wrap themselves into the fabric of night conversations. The concept of intellectualism traveling alongside trade intrigues you, and you realize how this cultural exchange also flows like an invisible silk thread from one end of the empire to the other. Picture yourself at an appearance by an eccentric merchant, a fellow by the name of Ibn, who regales you with stories of a library that hoards more scrolls than grains of sand in the desert. You can't help but chuckle at the image. Scroll-tight sandstorms could be quite the problem in their imagined library. Yet, whispers of scholars and manuscripts suggest a place where knowledge was a commodity almost as valuable as gold itself. All the while, your camel companions continue their daily protests, a little humbling reminder of how inconvenient yet indispensable these creatures were. They aren't called the ships of the desert for nothing, gracefully plowing through sandstorms with their own brand of polite disdain for their human passengers. Next time you complain about cramped economy seats, picture trading that for a bumpy camel ride. But let's not forget the gold, both a literal and figurative cornerstone of this trade network. The Niger River's glittering dust was one of Mali's great treasures. Equatorial Africa's mines produced a significant proportion of the world's gold for the time. Gold was exchanged pound for pound with salt, and so, wealth moved through the Mali Empire, contributing to the grandeur of cities where architectural marvels like the Djingareba Mosque sprouted. Quirky tidbit time: while many traveled for trade, some say that even jinns, think of them as ancient desert genies, rode along with caravans, thought to haunt these routes, their presence blamed for mysterious losses and guiding mirages. Of course, the more mundane explanation is simple human error and fatigue, but hey, why not blame an elusive spirit when you misplace a camel or two? Trading interactions were not merely about survival or gifting camels to spirits. The cross-cultural mingling gave birth to a fragrant, rich tapestry woven with diverse beliefs, technologies, and languages. Tuareg nomads, Songhai merchants, and mysterious travelers from distant lands all found their paths converging in Mali. As the caravan approaches its destination, you envision the process of goods exchanged on woven mats, the tactile joy of fabrics from the East, vibrant spices from Asia, and the cool, metallic weight of coins pocketed and assessed. Details blur into an all-encompassing sensation, a sensory overload transformed into a delicate balance of economics and friendship. And as the sun dips toward the horizon, its descent mirrored in undulating dunes, you take in the vast landscape once more. The quietude allows for reflection on how these ancient routes shaped the empire's economic standing and cultural diversity. Stretching bounds far beyond itself, it placed the Mali Empire at the center of a historical narrative that connected continents. So, whether facing harsh desert winds or the temptation of distant lands, you're given a glimpse into what shaped the Mali Empire's fascinating cultural and economic edifice. Essential truths emerge: that something as simple as salt can be worth its weight in gold, that a camel's grumpiness cannot be underestimated, and that, across centuries and innumerable grains of sand, the simple act of trading items and ideas has the power to shape empires and redefine the world. As you step through the shimmering Saharan sands, your eyes squint against the desert glare until, like a mirage solidifying into reality, the legendary city of Timbuktu emerges before you. You find yourself amid an orchestra of sounds, merchants haggling over spices and textiles, scholars sharing wisdom in animated tones, and the hum of life moving swiftly through narrow streets. Clearly, this isn't your neighborhood mall, it's a place where trade, knowledge, and culture converge with a vibrancy unmatched in the 14th century world. Your first stop is one of the bustling marketplaces. Here, stalls are piled high with goods from across the known world. Gold dust, the lifeblood of Mali's wealth, sparkles enticingly next to sacks of salt, ivory, and exotic spices that tickle your nose with their sharp fragrance. You overhear a trader boasting about a recent deal made using cowrie shells. As a modern traveler, you might chuckle at this form of currency, but back in the day, these little shells were as valuable as any 21st century credit card. Historians still argue whether these markets were more chaotic or more orderly than portrayed, but one thing is certain, they were the beating heart of Timbuktu's economy. Feeling the irresistible pull of curiosity, you make your way to the University of Sankore, where the phrase ivory tower could not be more misleading. This is no insular academic retreat, it's a dynamic hub of intellectual pursuit. Scholars decked in flowing robes, some dyed in indigo that rivals the sky at twilight, engage deeply in discussions that stretch the breadth of human understanding, from astronomy to theology, mathematics to poetry. If classrooms of today had only a fraction of this enthusiasm, maybe algebra would have fewer detractors. As you wander, you spy a group of students gathering outside, a delicate manuscript cradled carefully in one's hands. The pages, richly adorned, are valuable treasures. Remember that nagging feeling when you misplace your phone? Here, losing a manuscript could mean the loss of decades of accumulated knowledge. The value of these texts is unparalleled, as they are handwritten on paper, sometimes sourced from Arab traders, creating tangible lines of connection between Timbuktu and far-off lands. Mysteries still shroud this place of wisdom. Historians debate whether the city's reputation was slightly exaggerated by 14th century travelers. Was Timbuktu home to the intellect of the century or just hyped by a persistent medieval marketing campaign? Whatever the truth, standing amidst these seekers of knowledge, you can't help but feel the immense weight and significance of this scholastic tradition. Moving along, you catch the scent of incense wafting from a nearby mosque. With mud bricks crowned by wooden beams pointing skyward like fingers tracing messages in the sky, these religious sites are not just places of worship, they are architectural marvels. You may wonder if they had building codes back then, hopefully nothing like the ones that add 10-year permitting processes today. It's clear that Arabic influence is interwoven through Timbuktu's architecture and literature, a testament to the cultural exchanges facilitated by trade. Another less discussed connection involves a smattering of Italian manuscripts, ensuring that even the palazzo-loving folks in Florence would find something familiar here. Your journey through Timbuktu is not complete without a taste of its diverse linguistic landscape. Drop into a lively gathering, and you may hear the flowing tones of Songhai, the practical exchanges in Arabic, or perhaps the friendly banter in Fulani. The cacophony is as rich and tangled as the tapestry of cultures present. A local griot, Mali's timeless storytellers and keepers of history, spins a tale of grandeur and fate, and whether or not you understand every word, the melody is unmistakably captivating. Add this to your Instagram story and relish in the fact that oral tradition is the original viral content, stories that spread throughout whole empires without a single web connection. As the sun begins its descent, cooling the sand in its wake, you find a quiet spot to reflect on Timbuktu's layered complexity. Certainly, the vestiges of its greatness might fade, but its spirit, a mingling of trade, academia, and cultural fusion, remains steadfast in a modern world that still reveres the cross-pollination of ideas and peoples. And as you consider the end of your visit to this legendary hub of learning and commerce, you might wonder, could you really last a day here, amidst all the expectation and opportunity? Maybe. Just don't forget your mosquito net and sunscreen, though this time, crocodile dung might not be necessary. As you stand on the banks of the mighty Niger River, it's clear that this is no ordinary body of water. Far from just a picturesque backdrop for your medieval sightseeing tour, the Niger is the life-giving artery of the Mali Empire. Its meandering path cuts through the landscape, a liquid highway that not only transports goods but also connects cultures, communities, and a surprisingly varied array of aquatic threats. Watch your step. You wouldn't want to test if crocodile dung sunscreen really works against the real McCoy. The river is teeming with activity, from fishermen skillfully maneuvering their dugout canoes, called pirogues, with the grace of ballet dancers on water, to traders negotiating animatedly on their floating markets. Nets are cast expertly into the water, their fine mesh sluicing through the currents in pursuit of the river's bounty. You can almost smell the river on the air, a blend of fresh water and earth that fills your senses. Historians agree that the Niger was central to the empire's economy. Boasting a natural irrigation system, its sweeping curves create an abundant floodplain that nourishes crops and supports agriculture, much like a benevolent deity dispensing blessings, or wrath when disturbed. Of course, river gods are notoriously capricious, and one must wonder whether a misplaced sacrificial goat ever threw the whole ecological balance into disarray. But let's not test that theory today. As you journey along its banks, the sounds of commerce fill the air. You see traders from all corners of the empire squabble, barter, and broker deals on the go, their conversations interlaced with laughter and the occasional squawk from an opinionated chicken, or perhaps a linguistic scholar who failed to make tenure at Timbuktu. The river serves as a superhighway connecting inland Mali with coastal ports, facilitating trade and maximizing economic opportunities. It's like the internet, if the internet had crocodiles and an actual page could eat you. Among the myriad of goods being transported, gold dust glints mysteriously in the sunlight, a reminder of the riches that flow as abundantly as the river itself. Salt, too, a commodity as precious as gold, is exchanged across tables and canoe planks, proving that even back then, humans were willing to go to great lengths for their proverbial pinch. Salt had the odd effect of turning ordinary goods into luxury items, and, truth be told, who wouldn't pay a little extra to avoid tasteless medieval stew? But alongside these economic exchanges and industrious activities, the river holds its dangers and mysteries. People say it's home to Isata, a water spirit whose domain is said to hold untold treasures for those brave enough to seek them. Of course, historians still argue whether these tales have any basis or whether they were invented by weary traders as a tactic to scare rivals away from prime ferry spots. Either way, it's probably best not to dive in headfirst. There could be a lot more to chew on than just tall tales. The Niger River is vital to Malian life, with its network of tributaries watering lands that are farmed communally. Millet, sorghum, and rice thrive under the prosperity of overflow floodwaters, while fishermen like Sundiata, whose name amusedly translates to hungry lion, eke out a living by reeling in everything from tilapia to the occasional old boot. Also on the menu are hippos, though the hippos might have some strong opinions about being part of anyone's midday snack. There on the river, people gather for more than just trade. Villagers collect on its banks, sharing news as they fill their clay pots, gossip and knowledge flowing as freely as the river itself. These meeting points offer a lively mix of cultural exchanges, where the rhythm of drumming intertwines with stories shared under the shade of baobab trees. Perhaps you can imagine, amid all this hubbub, a young future griot soaking in these stories like a sponge, noting each morsel of history to weave into an oral tapestry for generations to come. It's said that a community's lore is as rich as the soil along this river, though individually questionable tales might be about as reliable as that goat story earlier. But even a day steeped in the vitality of the river can't mask its treachery. During the rainy season, its banks swell, sometimes uncontrollably, challenging those in its path. The Malians, however, are accustomed to its caprices and have learned to dance its tune. It's a delicate symphony of respect and pragmatism that ensures harmony between land, water, and life. The people here are masters of resilience, no stranger to adversity. They're akin to determined gardeners who deal with a finicky sprinkler system that occasionally floods the whole lawn. As the sun sets over the distant dunes that edge the skyline, the Niger continues its tireless journey through the heart of the Mali Empire, a river of time as much as a river of water. It whispers secrets of the past, of journeys taken in dreams yet to be realized, carrying with it the pulse of a thriving civilization. It's easy to see why the river holds such significance. It's not just a source of sustenance but also a catalyst for connectivity and growth. The Niger is like a podcast, if podcasts came with fish and the occasional tricky mud patch. Reflecting on its vital role, it's clear that every bend in the river's path holds a story, and every ripple is part of a larger narrative. Whether or not we choose to dive deep or simply skim the surface, we find ourselves shaped by its tremendous current. Here, the river teaches us the essence of flow and continuity, a lesson as intrinsic to the Mali Empire as the golden sands upon which it stood. So, perhaps next time you sip your glass of water, consider toasting to the Niger, ancient, formidable, and unfathomably fascinating. There's a certain excitement about being a member of the Munsah's personal guard, isn't there? A perfect brew of adrenaline, duty, and subtle terror with each sunrise, a unique blend that can only be described as experiencing a historical version of living on the edge. Picture, if you will, strapping on your armor at dawn, each piece a gleaming reminder not just of the importance of your role, but also of the historical significance of your task. Your heart races, not from the rustling sleepiness of a day that too soon demands your attention, but from the honor and stakes of standing as a bulwark against any threat to the empire's heartbeat itself, the Munsah. These are the days when the Mali Empire, under a ruler such as Munsah Musa, pulses with riches and influence sprawling beyond its borders. As a guard, the very variety of people and ideas whirling around you can be dizzying. From notable emissaries with exotic fabrics from far-flung lands to the philosophical debates that linger in the court, serving in the Munsah's guard isn't just a mundane task of standing still and looking tough. It's an engagement with the threads of history, each encounter woven with careful balance in the courts. You're intrigued, though. Perhaps it is the challenge of the task that calls to you, a dare from history to prove your mettle. The truth is, the Munsahs aren't just your regular rulers lounging on opulent thrones, all coddled like historical house cats. Establishing and maintaining the empire's power takes a delicate mix of political acumen and, bluntly, a willingness to protect it fiercely. And believe me, behind the palace decorum, there's enough palace intrigue to keep you perpetually on your toes. Historical texts credit Munsah Musa as one of the richest individuals to have ever lived, famously giving out so much gold on his hajj to Mecca that it supposedly tanked economies across North Africa. Still, historians argue whether this was a calculated act to showcase wealth or an overspill of generosity. Meanwhile, guards like you have the duty to protect such a flamboyant conveyor of wealth, an honor as much as it is a test. A day as the Munsah's guard is anything but predictable. You'll patrol the secure corridors by the treasury, where enough riches to buy a modern football team twice over are stored. And you'll stand sentinel outside the Great Hall, watching courtiers and messengers swirl around like sequin moths drawn to an opulent flame. But you're blessed with a closely guarded secret, knowing just enough of the whispered dramas among the royal entourage to fashion a Netflix series. Imagine the malcontents plotting, the jesters jesting, and the merchants scheming for more influence. They're elements of human nature that history delights in repeating. Of course, being a guard isn't all secret court gossip and shiny gold trinkets. Your presence reassures visitors that the Mali Empire takes security seriously, and, depending on the time of day, you might even have to flash a grin that says, "Yes, I mean business, but I'm approachable." After all, in an era before the written archives were all securely backed in the cloud, it falls on the guards to carry messages between high officials like some cross between bodyguards and medieval FedEx couriers. Moreover, as you stand steadfastly before the ornate doors, you become versed in discerning the ever-evolving political winds. The court's whispers morph into ripples of potential change, sometimes a disagreement between advisors, other times a diplomatic venture that could alter the fate of the empire's holdings. And you, dear guard, are a silent observer in this grand theater. History marches forward just beyond that opulent curtain you've taken an oath to protect. A unique tidbit to keep you engaged. Indeed, the guards have embraced some rather cunning forms of communication. Gestures, a silent nod, or even a quiet look exchanged with fellow guards can signal much more than any loud command. One might argue there's an art to it, an ancient form of semaphore that risks perfecting the art of subtlety, something you might want to add to your modern resume under it can communicate effectively, sans words. But for all its moments of disguised glam, life as a Munsah's guard is ingrained with serious pressure. It's not merely the physical demands on your not-quite-Spartan regimen, but the societal expectations. After all, your presence reflects the empire's strength or perceived vulnerabilities. Slacking isn't an option. Moreover, noble visitors to the capital add a touch of international flair to your day. Whether it's a Berber merchant sharing tales of the Sahara's arid majesty or ambassadors seeking audience, They pepper the day with glimpses into the wider world, expanding your own horizons, and unwittingly proving that you are, quite literally, guarding the crossroads of African history. Now, whether you find excitement in this swirling tapestry of splendor and intrigue, or an odd comfort in routine patrols, remember the guardianship tethered to every glinting flagstone within the court. Though historians debate whether a gallant life as the guard warranted enough compensation to mitigate the stress, because what's a little sleep deprivation and intense responsibility, it's undeniable that this role marks you as an integral cog within the very wheel of Mali's history. Each evening, as the vibrant empire bids the sun goodbye, you reflect that perhaps, just occasionally, history allows us to choose our playground. You, the ever-dedicated guard, come to realize that, while standing staunchly at your post might seem mundane, you are part of something far grander than any solitary campaign or melodramatic face-off. As the sands settle across the expansive horizons, you know all too well that your sleepless duties protect so much more than a single empire. They guard the continuing story of a bustling civilization long gone, yet persistently whispering in history's slumbering ear. Your senses are gently caressed by the soft strumming of the kora, the strings weaving a tapestry of sound that pulls you into the heart of the Mali Empire. You're captivated, drawn toward the source of this enchanting music, where a griot sits, their voice full of weight and wisdom. This minstrel isn't just any musician, they're the guardians of history, the custodians of 1,000 stories passed from one generation to the next, long before parchment ever thought it could monopolize knowledge. As you settle down, the griot begins, a story unfolds like a blooming baobab flower. You feel a soft, cool breeze embrace you under the shade of this historical tree. The tale spirals through the air, sharing whispers of past events, like the epic journeys of the mighty Sundiata Keita, said to be the founder of the Mali Empire. You remember your modern history books, filled with dry facts, but this is something else, a living, breathing tapestry of human experience, rich with colorful threads of mythology and truth seamlessly intertwined. Oh, don't be surprised if suddenly a leopard turns into a prince mid-story. Griots blur the boundaries of reality and legend. Historians still argue whether Sundiata's life included a miraculous victory over a sorcerer king or if that was just a griot's elaborate plot twist. They ponder which parts of these tales are historical facts and which parts are the creative liberties of the griot, lending Mali a mythic layer that puts even the most extravagant Netflix series to shame. The griot's stories are mesmerizing not just for their content but also for their delivery. The low hum of the audience's murmuring approval acts as a kind of live Yelp review for each part of the tale. You might say griots were the original viral storytellers, their performances lighting up scholarly debates like a Thanksgiving argument about whether the turkey's overcooked. They have an innate ability to accent the rising and falling action with well-placed humor or drama, which makes you wonder if they were in cahoots with Shakespeare before he decided to crash Europe's literary scene. In your time, you've seen master orators and charismatic TED Talk speakers, but even they must bow to the griot's prowess. With nary a microphone in sight, their voice carries powerfully over the village square, like a Spotify playlist on shuffle, stretching back through centuries. They deftly shuffle through anecdote and song, ensuring that even the village's most cynical goats seem unusually contemplative, pondering perhaps the underlying moral philosophies of the evening's repertoire. Listening closer, you might catch an amusing insight into ancient Malian life. All those years ago, who knew complaining about husbands leaving their socks everywhere wasn't just a modern grievance? Turns out, some anecdotes of spousal antics have been universally cringeworthy for hundreds of years. And while the griot recounts the great battles and epic sagas of heroism, they might tack on a quirky tidbit that ancient Malians took crocodile dung baths for medicinal purposes. Talk about a spa day gone wrong. The importance of the griot holds a respected place in the social tapestry of the empire. Their role isn't just cushioned by the comfort of poetic flairs. Griots advise kings, their allegorical stories sometimes echoing cautionary tales that could make even the most reckless of leaders pause for reflection. And when not embroiled in counsel or performance, they're genealogists. They can recite the lineage of noble families with the precision of a Wikipedia page that hasn't yet been vandalized. Imagine, as the fire crackles quietly beside you, you're pulled into another tale. This one is more of a reflective piece, whispering the trials of a hero who was brave enough to question the status quo. Historians still discuss whether these heroes were actual subversive figures or narrative tools used to inspire reflection and change without thinning the Munsa's patience. Each story is a gem, a kaleidoscope capturing the impermanent glint of wisdom one might grasp in the natural order of things. As introspective thoughts mingle with the smoky night air, you're reminded of how ingrained oral tradition is in this world. It's living proof that long before Wi-Fi enabled instant communication, stories would travel faster than a trade caravan scampering across the Sahara. These tales, shared from one generation to another, were more than just entertainment. They were the commandments, the constitution, the moral compass that bound communities together. The night deepens, and you find yourself in a dreamlike reverie, woven into the fabric of this oral tradition. What the griots preserve isn't just history, it's the soul of a people, a dynamic record meant to evolve and adapt with every retelling. You're lulled by the poetry of it all, wishing perhaps modern society valued a verbal memory lane as much. Imagine if your life was shared through exuberant song, as opposed to the cryptic snapshots accumulating in the cloud. You chuckle, wondering what a modern griot might say about social media influencers. The fire dwindles, but the ember of storytelling remains in your mind, illuminating the nuanced beauty of the Mali Empire, a culture carried by rhythm and voice, wisdom and wit, where the griot's lesson continued long after the final applause. It's the whisper that says in an ever-changing world, some songs, and plenty of jokes, deserve to be timeless. You wander into the heart of the Mali Empire where the chattering voices from the marketplace mingle with the sound of the earth being gently tilled. You find yourself in the midst of vibrant, fertile fields that stretch far beyond the horizon, a captivating patchwork quilt of green that speaks of meticulous care and ancient agricultural wisdom. Welcome to the breadbasket of the realm, where the three sisters are not a myth but the very sustenance of life. Let's pause for a moment where the soil is soft underfoot, the earthy aroma is distinct, a reminder that agriculture is unquestionably an art form here. Meet your new companions, the three sisters. No, not siblings with a regal pedigree, but rather a hallowed trinity of crops, corn, beans, and squash. This might sound like the world's most modest salad, but together they create a harmonious cooking pot that balances nutrition and soil health. Historians still argue whether the Malians innovated this agricultural trio independently or were inspired by earlier cultures. But what isn't up for debate is how these crops work in concert, each playing a part like orchestrated notes in a symphony. Corn provides a natural pull for beans to climb, and beans return the favor by enriching the soil with nitrogen, a kind of botanical I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine relationship. Meanwhile, squash weaves its way around as ground cover, preserving moisture and thwarting those opportunistic weeds thinking today's the day they take over the empire. As you meander through the rows, lean in and listen to the rhythmic sounds of farming life. The farmers move in steady concert with the land, their hands firm from years of coaxing harvests from the earth, their voices exchanging pleasantries or perhaps the medieval equivalent of tractor jokes. It's back-breaking work, no doubt, but there's a profound connection to the earth beneath them, and quite possibly, an undercurrent of pride in each bite their crops will soon provide. While pondering this symbiotic relationship, here's an amusing tidbit: occasionally, a playful monkey may swoop down, snag a juicy cob of corn, and dash away with its spoils. You might think, who does the monkey think it is? A substitute for post-harvest nibbling. Yet, there's a unique acceptance of nature's tiny thieves, as if acknowledging that wildlife, too, plays its role in this grand rural tableau. It's not just the crops that provide nourishment but also how they're woven into daily life. If you find yourself sitting down to a traditional meal, you're in for a treat. Imagine a delectable porridge derived from corn or a mouth-watering stew where beans complement the flavors, and squash provides a sweet, tender contrast. You might be lulled into a sleepy reverie by this culinary warmth, but resist the urge to assume a food coma. There's more to see. Amidst all this, there are speculative whispers. Did the sensitivity to cosmic rhythms or ancient esoteric knowledge guide Mali's agricultural timing? When is the precise moment when seeds should kiss the soil, and when should they be gently pulled to freedom? The sun, moon, and perhaps even mischievous garden sprites could guide farmers' decisions, historians muse. Yet despite these ongoing debates, the tangible reality is this: confidence in the crop cycles, fortified by a mix of empirical evidence and age-old instinct. And just to keep things interesting, let's dive into a quirky aside. Tales exist of farmers swearing by the singing of special songs to their crops. While some scoff at this as nothing more than myth, others argue that these melodic chants contain deep agricultural secrets. A crop whisperer, if you will, lauding the plants into bounteous production. As one observer cheekily put it, if opera can alter the tempo of city-dweller heartbeats, then why can't a well-sung verse sweeten corn? Corn may have been king of the fields, beans its noble advisor, and squash the silent diplomat, but crop rotations and a diversity of grains also dotted the agrarian landscape, each with its part to play in this ecosystem. The Malians understood the importance of balancing monoculture with biodiversity, a lesson perhaps heeded more in today's environmental seminars than it was back in the day. Cumulatively, the fertility of these terrains contributes immensely to the wealth and stability of the Mali Empire. It stands as the foundation upon which trade routes are mapped and marketplaces buzz, ensuring food security and sustenance for its people. Remember, even richly robed empires are lost without bread and broth. Speaking of wealth, let's not forget all those caravans you saw earlier laden with gold, not just the metal variety but golden grains reflecting the vitality of this domain. By now, you're gently roped into this harvest dance, heart synchronized with the pulse of this timeless agrarian haven, steps attuned to the nuanced cadence of pitches sung to the sky. Whether you believe in cosmic planting or the mystical wiles of a crop ballad, there's no denying the tangible bounty. It's a melody all its own, one that keeps the Mali Empire humming along smoothly. Now, what's that? Is it the comforting thwack of harvested corn or just the snooze-inducing breeze sweeping in? Either way, linger in this sleepy realm a bit more, there's always room for a little more history before nodding off. As you stroll through the bustling marketplace of the Mali Empire, you're greeted by the rhythmic clang of hammers on anvils, the soft whir of spinning wheels, and the faint smell of dye mingling with the aroma of street food. You find yourself amidst the artisans, the skilled hands of the empire whose craftwork supports both daily life and the aesthetic pleasures of a civilization that had an eye for beauty. Now, you might not have expected a blacksmith's forge to compete with the sounds of a griot's tale, but here, the music of industry is both a testament to ingenuity and a lullaby to any wandering soul in need of some background white noise. Blacksmiths in the Mali Empire occupy a special place, not merely for their ability to shape tools and weapons but as respected figures often imbued with a touch of mysticism. You see, the ability to bend metal is an alchemical mystery to many in the empire, adding a dash of magic to your day job. These artisans provide the iron tools necessary for agriculture, the very sickles and plows that cut through the fields, coaxing the earth to yield the three sisters of maize, beans, and squash. It's not quite enchanting gold from straw but close enough. As you observe the methodical precision of their work, a question leaps out at you: where did they learn this? Well, historians still argue whether these skills were homegrown or borrowed through trade contacts, the nuances of these debates as complex as the patterns etched into a Malian spear. It's funny in a scholarly way, like a historical, she said, with a touch of academic rivalry. Naturally, not all the handiwork here is about functional items. The artisans of Mali are also creators of beauty. Weaver workshops are a veritable tapestry of colors, with looms orchestrating a dance of vibrant threads. These beautiful textiles don't just clothe the population, they articulate status and identity, much like your Instagram page but infinitely more tactile and without the sponsored ads. Meanwhile, jewelry makers get elemental with their bling, employing gold and copper, materials likely traded across vast routes and shaped into intricate designs that suggest continuity with a rich cultural past. Imagine trying to replicate the precision of this detailed work in your own world. You'd need a Zoom meeting with Da Vinci himself to even get close. A fun historical tidbit for you: some folks even credit West African metalsmiths with original styles that influenced Mediterranean artistry, though you'd need a time-traveling tour guide to confirm such claims, preferably one who isn't trying to sell you a souvenir at the end of it. Let's not forget the potters, the masters of clay who delicately craft vessels that brim with both purpose and ornamentation. Each piece tells a story, some abstract and others featuring familiar motifs. As you watch them work, visions of ancient banquets take shape, platters piled high with gastronomic delights that were probably neither gluten-free nor paleo, yet certainly satisfying for the soul. Within the walls of these workshops, debates take soft whispers over the ideal clay mixture or the proper firing technique, where age-old knowledge mingles with the whispers of innovation. Historians may prolong discussions on whether these influences were external or the product of spontaneous invention within the empire, but one thing's certain: here, both history and mystery are molded by the potter's hands. So as you drift through this bustling heart of creation, surrounded by the texture of wood carvings that dance in the light, wooden statues that guard entranceways with a stoic gaze, take a pause to appreciate the silent narratives encapsulated in each crafted piece. It's as if all the labor, the artistry, and the quiet genius of Mali's artisans are serenading you with a lullaby, gently guiding you into a reverie, a far more effective sleep aid than any bedtime story you've heard, perhaps except for that one about the guy who turned lead into gold. As the day stretches on, you can appreciate how the artisan's work fuels more than just the economy. The delicate balance of aesthetics and utility is emblematic of the Mali Empire's ethos, a harmonious blend of the functional and the beautiful. In a way, it's a bit like when you try to assemble IKEA furniture and end up with something resembling postmodern art, except here, everything is impossibly, frustratingly perfect. The wares crafted here don't merely serve a purpose, they contribute to the cultural tapestry that defines the Mali Empire, each crafted piece, from the common to the ceremonial, a thread in the rich fabric of their civilization. When someone back then asked, who made that impressive piece of work, it had less to do with brand recognition and more about the story behind the craftsmanship, a timeless conversation starter if there ever was one. But, let's not forget the subtle samba of competitive exchange among these artisans. The weavers might cast knowing glances to the blacksmith's forge, as if to claim, sure, you build muscles bending metal, but can you make someone look this fabulous in Technicolor? It's a rivalry as playful as it is imaginary, much like our modern debates over PC versus Mac. Each has its merits, and frankly, a touch of both might make for the best displays. In the echoes of this hive of activity, you can't help but feel a sense of belonging, whether you're among the glowing fires of the forge, the delicate shuffles of the basket weavers, or the attentive sweep of the potter's wheel. Here, every day is a testament to the artisan's gift to turn raw materials into items of practical use and sheer beauty. The connection you feel to these artisans is as palpable as the fibers they weave and as enduring as the metals they shape, etched timelessly into the beds of history. So, if you feel like the workaday world sometimes dulls into a mundane pattern, take heart in the fact that much like Mali's skilled craftsmen, there's an art to everything you do, yes, even organizing your sock drawer. Though perhaps a Malian weaver might prefer to spin an epic about it, capturing each thread as a journey. That's the magic of artisanship, after all, a dance between creativity and functionality that, even today, can serve as your perfect lullaby. And here you stand, weary traveler, in the heart of the Mali Empire, just as its most illustrious ruler, Mansa Musa, is preparing to embark on an epic journey that will be spoken of for centuries. The air buzzes with the kind of excitement that only the departure of the empire's most opulent pilgrimage can inspire. You're swept along by the pomp and pageantry as the preparations for Mansa Musa's pilgrimage to Mecca intensify. Picture this, a caravan stretching as far as the eye can see, laden with gold, pure, radiant gold. It's almost as if the entire Sahara has come to life, shimmering under the searing sun, reflecting off the precious metal that lines the procession. The chatter of merchants, the bleating of camels, and the rustle of silk fabric create a symphony that is as rich as Mali itself. You must admit, there's something almost comical about the sheer scale of excess. It's rumored that Mansa Musa is carrying so much gold that his spending causes economic ripples in Cairo, driving down the value of gold there. It's like a medieval Black Friday, where the sheer volume of spending sends the local market into a tizzy. Historians still argue whether the tales of Musa's wealth are a tad exaggerated or precisely the stuff of legends, but what's undeniable is the profound impact his spending spree had on the regions he traversed. And the splendor of it all. As part of this majestic pilgrimage, your senses are bathed in luxury. The soles of your feet find comfort in the finest leather sandals, crafted by skilled artisans from Timbuktu, whose work is revered even among the finest cobblers today. Remember those artisans we saw perfecting their craft earlier? It seems their skills have found patrons in the high and mighty, this time, to suit the grandeur of a pilgrimage unlike any other. The procession is not just a spectacle of wealth but also a mobile diplomatic mission. Mansa Musa, with a strategic flair rivaling his generosity, distributes gold to the less fortunate and establishes diplomatic ties with rulers and scholars he encounters. It's an open-air TED Talk meets royal giveaway, where knowledge is shared as freely as wealth. As Musa advances towards Mecca, he doesn't just showcase Mali's opulence, he broadcasts the intellectual and spiritual ambitions of his empire. And speaking of spiritual ambition, each stop on the journey transforms into a temporary classroom for Mali's ambassadors of knowledge. They share tales of Mali's rich history and scholarly pursuits with wide-eyed hosts. Muslim historians accompanying the caravan, like human versions of an ancient Wikipedia, capture every detail of this expedition, contributing to accounts of Africa that will travel the world with as much zest as the trade goods carried back along those desert routes. Yet not everything is golden extravagance. Among these grand gestures are whispers of human fragility and folly. There's an amusing anecdote that Musa mistakenly gifted so much gold to an eager crowd that he ended up having to borrow to make it back to Mali comfortably. Imagine the ruler of one of the richest empires finding himself in need of a loan, a classic mix-up that humanizes a figure often bigger than life itself. After all, even in the height of wealth, one must mind the budget and the purse strings. But beyond the gold, the pilgrimage is a testament to the deep spiritual thirst of an empire not merely content with the riches of the earth. Mansa Musa's dedication to his faith is serious business. As he kneels for prayer, surrounded by courtiers draped in incense-scented robes, you're reminded that this journey is also about Mali's spiritual journey and its leaders' devotion to a higher cause. This pilgrimage acts as a cultural exchange on a grand scale. In the bustling streets of Cairo and the sacred sands of Mecca, Musa and his retinue encounter scholars and theologians, engage in debates, and absorb perspectives that will influence Mali's own tapestry of knowledge. There's palpable energy as cultures entwine, a vibrant dance of learning and sharing that echoes far beyond the boundaries of the journey. What's fascinating is that scholars still debate whether Mansa Musa fully realized the long-term influence his pilgrimage would kindle. Some suggest it was a stroke of genius in soft power diplomacy, while others wonder if he underestimated the repercussions of his generosity on local economies. Yet, what can't be denied is how this journey irreversibly places Mali on the world map, or at least the medieval equivalent of one, and elevates the empire's reputation to dizzying heights. So, as you stand in the midst of this awe-inspiring caravan, contemplating your surroundings, it's hard not to be swept up by the allure of this grand endeavor. The scent of spices wafts through the air, grain from millstones peppers the conversation, and for just a moment, you're part of something larger than life, part of a journey that transcends mere travel and morphs into a tapestry of cultural, spiritual, and economic footprints. Now, continue your stroll with this grand parade, feeling the weight of history tucked gently against your modern consciousness. As the sacred caravan snakes toward its destination, leaving footprints in the endless sands, a pilgrimage inked into the annals of time, you can't help but wonder about your own journey, and whether your presence here, within this living history, makes you a dignified observer or a mere jester in Mansa Musa's world-altering procession. Your feet find the red dust of the bustling Mali Empire, swirling amidst the daily whirlwind of life's endless demands. As you delve deeper into the everyday existence of ancient Mali, you can't help but wonder how you would adjust, or rather, survive. You may have already realized that the glamour of Mansa Musa's court life doesn't quite trickle down to the simple tasks of your average empire inhabitant. And before you dream too deeply of glowing sunsets and gentle Niger River breezes, there's the stark reality of your sunrise, the incessant rhythm of labor and roles wrestling for attention. For many, dawn heralds a fresh start of complex gender-defined tasks. Men and women knew their duties, so there were no Monday morning I finished Netflix, what's my job again, kind of moments. You're expected to follow the choreography of plowing, harvesting, or perhaps engaging in trade or artisanal crafts. In contrast, women wore an array of hats, from child rearing to crafting and even local trading. Historians still argue whether these gender roles were rigidly set or flexibly shared. Debate aside, you might find, as you slip into these roles, that the division was less about equality and more about resourceful symbiosis, like a real-life, day-to-day three-legged race. As you rub shoulders with your fellow Malians, you experience firsthand a critical pillar underpinning this society: community. This is no place for your hermit tendencies to just Saturday night in. Social structures are tight-knit, with extended family units weaving rich tapestries of support and shared responsibilities. Junior family members learn crafts and trades from their elders, turning dinner table talk into future professions. And if you happen to be the offbeat uncle obsessed with that quirky new mint scent, well, there's always a family member to mediate those squabbles with a laugh and shared stories around a communal meal. But what about the materials that will mold your day? Take a leisurely stroll, or whatever passes for leisurely when steering clear of bustling marketplace stalls, to find nourishment for body and soul. The marketplace pulses with life as traders and farmers sell everything from millet bread to textiles. It isn't uncommon to hear the laughter and banter of bartering in progress, a reminder that shopping didn't always involve swirling around the aisles with a shopping cart filled with unnecessary snacks. Instead, each exchange is both economical and an opportunity to forge social bonds. Perception senses the sweet undertones of baobab fruit mixing in the air, a deliberate nod to the resourceful adaptation of the Malians to their land's bounty. Yet, you might find adjusting to traditional Mali cuisine an unexpected adventure. It lacks the overdone spices of modern-day cuisine and, despite being functional in energy provision, might not always offer the same Netflix-style indulgences. Remember though, the bitter edge of the kola nut weaves into everyday consumption as naturally as our morning coffee rituals. Though this all paints an exhaustive portrayal, it's also a world where the capacity to innovate blends with continuity. Once you see an artisan deftly shaping a piece of iron, you glimpse an inherent understanding of life's materiality. Crafts like pottery and goldsmithing serve dual purposes, providing tools and income, underlining essential skills that often teeter on the brink of artistry and survival. As an honorary neighborhood blacksmith, you'd spend significant hours staring into the fiery depths of a forge, possibly fantasizing you're crafting Excalibur, rather than a humble plowshare. And now, a grain of uniqueness nestles into the routine, the society-wide festival. Communities ebb and flow to the rhythm of several festivals, and these celebrations offer rare opportunities to pause regular obligations. Though some festivities greet you with head-scratching customs, like balancing a calabash without using hands, still, the satisfaction derived from collective participation strengthens social bonds and fortifies community respect. Frankly, who wouldn't want an invitation to dance under the star-speckled skies after a day of overcoming pestilent crops and unwieldy trade negotiations? Family aside, nature itself introduces challenges and solutions alike in nourishing the empire's eager inhabitants. Recall the Niger, a challenging companion to navigate as it shapes Mali's agriculture and transport. The river delivers both bounty and burdens, serving as a means to illustrate how ancient Malians adapted. Waterway travel often sits in the realm of necessity, underpinning trade routes and agricultural advances. If you're not careful, you might find yourself caught in the dance of waterborne trade, a veritable conga line of river-going vessels. With all these layers of duty, rest becomes a coveted companion. Yet, even here, responsibilities encroach on sleep's embrace. Slumber is not just about shutting down after sunset, it acts as a brief intermission before a new day of enduring duties. Those lucky enough to catch some early morning introspection might debate the ample merits of ancient versus modern life. An endless conversation flowed even before coffee was invented. In rewinding the tape of a Malian day, one sentiment shines through brightly despite the adversities: community bonds. In weathering challenges of division and labor, support streams like lifeblood. What you might find tiring, they find character building, in a kind of reality show minus cameras, but equally the drama. As sun and spirit wane in fleeting dusklight, contemplate how societal frameworks straddle survival, weaving creative efficiencies from the needs of the many. Even while craning necks towards a glittering civilization horizon, hinged on commerce, alliances, and opulent leadership, each Malian preserves an individual path through the given roles, cast in the empire's sprawling tapestry. Witnessing these nuances might leave you pondering how a day unfolds in our digital age by means of a shuffle, the relentless division of labor possibly finding digital parallels today. The Mali Empire triumphed over quotidian struggles, their legacy still sparking modern streams of historic empathy, a gentle nod to past resilience under quest for tranquility. As you walk through the lively Mali Empire, surrounded by the vibrant hum of activity, you can't help but notice how spirituality weaves itself into the fabric of daily life here. Picture yourself under the vast African sky, attending a community gathering where both ancestor worship and Islam hold sway. It's a scene that blends reverence with festivity, much like a modern family reunion with a splash of solemnity. You might imagine that discussing spiritual life could be a ticket to a heated debate, yet in the Mali Empire, these practices coexist like peanut butter and jelly in a mouth-watering sandwich. The blend of ancestor worship with Islam might strike you as an unusual pairing, much like mixing pineapple with pizza, a combination that somehow works brilliantly here. Ancestors are honored as guiding spirits, believed to influence the living and ensure the prosperity of their descendants. It's believed that communication with these ancestors can bring peace, protection, and advice. Everything from the lush harvests of the Three Sisters crops to the safety from those less than friendly crocodiles by the riverbanks could be seen as blessings from these ever-watchful ancestral spirits. Islam, having entered the region through trade and cultural exchanges, introduced new religious practices and ideas. Prayer rituals become a staple, 5 times a day to be precise, each call echoing through the dusty streets in melodic sound waves. However, how deeply Islam rooted itself in Mali is a tale still crackling with debate. Historians engage in lively discussions over whether the empire was fully Islamic in every corner of society or if Islamic practices varied greatly between its urban centers and the rural outposts. It's like trying to figure out if everyone at a party is really into the music or just nodding along to be polite. Community gatherings often find their rhythm in a delightful synergy between these spiritual practices. Picture the scene, a dish of steaming millet in hand and echoes of drumbeats filling the air. Here, people share tales that stretch back generations, honoring ancestors and discussing the intricacies of Islamic teachings, all coalescing into a dynamic cultural mosaic. It's like when the cat memes meet dog memes in internet harmony, a place where stories weave into a tapestry of shared belief. But what good is any spirituality without a hint of the eccentric? Imagine arriving at a communal feast only to be told you're sitting at the wrong ancestral line space, like showing up to a cousin's wedding in the wrong color code. You graciously laugh it off, though the misstep gives you a taste of the little quirks that make Mali's spiritual life the rich tapestry it is. Another fun side note is how the griots, the sweet-tongued historians you remember, often have a role in both religious and cultural ceremonies. Their ability to recite lineage and ancestral tales is not just appreciated but revered, akin to your modern podcast host spinning yarns so real you feel part of the story. It's fascinating how the Mali Empire manages to nestle these diverse spiritual threads into everyday life so comfortably. For instance, market days aren't just about bargaining for spices or trading tales about the best new hoof oil for your steed. They're also filled with subtle and overt spiritual overtones, from selling amulets believed to ward off spirits to choosing the right color of cloth imbued with ancestral blessings. And let's not even get started on the fish sauce. After all, the debate still lingers on the best way to keep the oozing muddy charms away. Spoiler alert, it probably involves a secret ancestor recipe passed down the ages. In Mali's spiritual scene, there's no question that community life benefits from the intertwining of these practices. Ancestor spirits and Islamic belief systems both serve as grounding forces that bring people together. Whether it's asking for safe travels across the Niger River or seeking prosperity in bustling marketplaces, spiritual practices are the heart's rhythm, thumping steadily through the pulse of daily life. The magic here lies in how perfectly these worlds blend, a peaceful coexistence that might just rival the serene companionship found between a cat and its overly enthusiastic dog friend. This surprising union of ancestor worship and Islam highlights the vibrancy of Mali's culture. Spirituality doesn't just rest in temples or mosques, it hovers like the lively marketplace chatter, subtly influencing even the gentlest aspects of life. It brings a sense of belonging, identity, and purpose to communities large and small. You can almost feel it in the air as you stroll across sun-baked courtyards and lively bazaars, adding yet another layer to your adventure through this incredible empire. So sit back, allow your thoughts to drift into this tranquil blend of history and belief, and let it lull you into a peaceful slumber. Who knows, perhaps you'll dream your place within this colorful, spiritual tapestry of the Mali Empire, where every soul has its narrative, gifting your imagination the chance to wander free. As you step into the Mali Empire, the air is thick with anticipation. The vibrant drumbeats guide you to an open square where men, women, and children gather in celebration. It's a festival day, thank goodness, because the last thing you need is another farming chore that even scarecrows refuse to do. You're just in time to witness the grandeur and sheer joy of Malian festivities. Think of it as a combination of a modern block party, the Olympics, and perhaps a TED Talk, all rolled into one glorious event. The open plaza is alive with color, from the vivid blues and reds of traditional boubou garments to the intricate patterns woven into textiles, a seamless blend of art and function. People move like a well-rehearsed chorus, their steps rhythmic and purposeful. Drums, talking drums, and chorus weave intricate melodies that echo through the air, inviting anyone with a heartbeat to dance. Now, imagine trying to do the floss here. Spoiler alert, you'd probably pull a muscle, but it would make for quite a spectacle. Historians still argue whether these festivals began as purely religious observances or as grand community gatherings, the distinction perhaps like trying to tell if a hot dog is a sandwich, hotly debated and altogether speculative. But no matter their origin, the festivals serve multiple purposes: honoring the ancestors, forging community ties, and offering a great opportunity to excuse yourself from daily chores because, hey, you're celebrating history. You find yourself captivated by a theatrical performance recounting the tales of old Mali, heroes and sagas brought to life by skilled actors, their every gesture precise like a maestro conducting the symphony of time. Did you know that one of these performances could last from dawn till dusk? While modern audiences might balk at a 2-hour movie without CGI explosions, these gatherings are the blockbuster events of their day. The griot, acting as both narrator and historian, commands attention. He is a living archive, his voice alternately as booming as the great river Niger and as soft as the Saharan sands. But hold on to your sun hat, because you're not just observing history, you're about to participate in it. As much as Malians knew how to throw a festival, they also excelled in including everyone. You're invited to join in a traditional dance, not one you're likely to find in a modern dance-off, but one resonant with tradition and storytelling. The steps are deceptively simple, like trying to teach a cat to fetch, but eventually, you find the rhythm, becoming a part of a communal story that unfolds with every stomp and swish. Picture a scene where the aroma of grilled meats and sweet fruits mingles in the air. Feasts are an integral part of these gatherings, a sensory delight that rubs bellies and warms hearts. You're offered plates brimming with yassa and jollof rice, dishes crafted with the same meticulous care as the finest works of art. You might even try your hand at preparing some of these dishes, charitably burning your attempt at yassa. But it's all part of the experience, right? Meanwhile, vendors display their handcrafted wares, beaded jewelry and carved figurines, each item a testament to Mali's thriving artisan community and a not-so-subtle nudge to rethink your last Amazon purchase. Then, there are the competitions, tests of strength, skill, and wit. Wrestling matches draw eager spectators, roaring in excitement as competitors grapple in displays of sheer physical prowess, not unlike ancient Greece's Olympic competitions. Whether you possess Herculean strength or your last workout involved the remote control, these events are thrilling to watch. For those more linguistically inclined, poetry contests provide a quieter but equally compelling theater. Poets battle with words, their verses sharp as the edge of a sword, turning everyday observations into bursts of laughter or contemplative silence. Your local poetry slam has nothing on this. The festivities also offer space for intellectual exchange, a hallmark of the Mali Empire's commitment to education and cultural appreciation. Imagine scholars pausing between bites of their meals to debate philosophy or astronomy, their discussions as stimulating as any Netflix series, but without the ominous "are you still watching?" prompt. The Quranic recitations and philosophical discussions serve as a reminder of how deeply spirituality and knowledge are interwoven into the fabric of Malian culture. To an observer, it might seem nothing could disrupt this harmony, yet whispering around the edges of the square are stories brought by travelers from distant lands. These tales, whether of new trade routes or mysterious empires beyond the horizon, are gathered and absorbed like a collective consciousness expanding with each new piece of information. And speaking of distant lands, it's worth mentioning the peculiar fact that gourds filled with water find their way both to Mali's festivals and to places as far-flung as the ancient courts of Spain and even medieval England. This little tidbit might not help you impress at your next trivia night, but it certainly underscores the impressive reach and influence of the Mali Empire, which historians still argue whether positioned ancient Mali as a cultural influencer of its time. Just imagine. Mali had social capital before it was cool. As night falls, the square glows with the warm light of torches, casting flickering shadows that dance along the packed earth floors. The music takes on a more resonant, almost ethereal quality as voices rise in unison, joining in chants that echo across time and space. You marvel at how, despite the passage of centuries, the urge to come together in celebration remains a constant thread throughout human history. Festivals like these are less about the event itself and more about what they represent, a binding contract of humanity and shared existence. Your senses are filled to the brim, your feet sore from dancing, your stomach pleasantly heavy with the day's delights. As you slowly retreat from the vibrant scene, you can't help but feel linked to a time and place where the past is always present and celebration is a way of life. Perhaps that's the true magic of the Mali Empire, a place where history doesn't just sit on a dusty shelf but stands, spins, and sings all around you. And as you inch closer to the realm of dreams, perhaps you'll carry a fragment of this celebration with you. Like the best party favors, the experience lingers, rich with color and culture, a worthy heirloom shared with everyone lucky enough to attend. As you drift off, a part of you remains in that lively square, a fleeting whisper caught in the rhythm of Mali's enduring heartbeat. As you stroll away from the bustling heart of Timbuktu, you might expect the grandeur of learning to taper off like the fading notes of a griot's lute. But in the Mali Empire, education isn't limited to its famed city of scholarly pursuit. Picture yourself stepping into the rural outskirts, a land where knowledge flows as freely as the Niger River, minus, hopefully, the crocodiles. Here, beyond the walls of Timbuktu, lies a world where learning is a way of life and not just luxury. You find yourself surrounded by earthen structures, their walls imbued with stories of intellectual fervor. Students gather beneath shade trees, perhaps more for their ideas than their thermoregulation. The chirping of birds in the branches above them complements the chatter of young minds engrossed in debate, a far-off luxury that you wouldn't even find in your most enlightened coffee shop gatherings. These informal settings provide insights into a society that values knowledge not only as an emblem of prestige but as a fundamental principle woven into the fabric of daily existence. Historians still argue whether the University of Sankore was the world's first really cool book club, but the educational hubs found in the more pastoral stretches of Mali demonstrate a broader commitment to learning that sometimes gets overshadowed by Timbuktu's limelight. While it's the renowned madrasas of Timbuktu that get the headlines, it's these rural settings that capture the essence of the empire's educational philosophy. After all, why trap knowledge in a city when the whole empire can bask in its glow? It's as if the Malians took one look at nature's classroom and decided, yeah, we'll teach critical thinking amongst those acacia trees, why not? A mainstream historical fact you'll occasionally hear at book club meetings back home is that the Mali Empire, at its zenith, boasted centers of learning that covered religious studies, astronomy, law, and even more pragmatic subjects like agriculture and governance. As you walk through one such village, a wizened elder, part scholar, part sage, might beckon you to join a discussion on ethical governance. You can't help but wonder if modern politicians had the benefit of such a grounding in ethics. Could it have saved us a few awkward debates about committee assignments? The old sage chuckles, as if sensing your thoughts, and continues to elicit responses from eager students, weaving through questions about morality as deftly as a master weaver threading a loom. The quirky tidbit of the day arrives at the heels of a rather enthusiastic rooster, who disrupts a lecture on astronomy by offering his own celestial tune. The rooster, affectionately named Abu, is famous in this village for predicting rain showers with uncanny accuracy, an avian meteorologist, if you will. Some claim it's pure instinct, others swear by the rooster's divinely guided senses, and just about every student has a hypothesis of their own. Abu struts around, tuition-free, while villagers engage in lively debates about his supernatural skills. Now, if only your local weather app had such a charming feature, minus the 5 a.m. wake-up call. Moving through these educational outposts, you recognize the synergy of various disciplines meeting under open skies. Eager young Malians might be seen scribbling calculations in the sand, enthusiastically discussing algebraic principles, because who couldn't resist a good quadratic equation? It's here, amidst the dust and intellectual fervor, that you realize knowledge in the Mali Empire transcends mere acquisition. It's a dialogue, a never-ending exchange that crosses generations and terrains. The role of women in this educational expansion also draws your interest. In many parts of this empire, women aren't cordoned off from the intellectual feast. They engage in studies that might range from astronomy's celestial mysteries to pragmatic healthcare practices involving herbal remedies. Oh, and don't forget, earlier we discussed that essential crocodile dung sunscreen concoction, which possibly needs revisiting after the next sunny season. Intellectual curiosity in the Mali Empire had few bounds. You might even catch wind of a traveling scholar making rounds from village to village, sharing knowledge with a fervor reminiscent of modern-day TED Talks, though with less technology and more charisma. These itinerant teachers serve as speculative historians' nightmare. Did they invent the concept of viral, pre-internet? The debate continues, with scholars contending whether the empire's widespread literacy and intellectual exchange indeed facilitated Europe's eventually voracious appetite for African gold and ideas in equal measure. As you tread through these scholarly villages, the scent of the day's meal wafts through the air, perhaps a steaming bowl of millet porridge, a welcome delicacy after your trek. You are reminded, with a gentle tummy rumble, that the pursuit of knowledge is best undertaken along with a sensible breakfast, kind of like life hacks in their primal form. And just as you're contemplating the correlation between a well-fed mind and your mid-morning snack back home, an inviting call to eat pulls you into a gathering of students, teachers, and community members. Here, learning and living meld seamlessly, a testament to the Mali Empire's commitment not just to knowledge, but to a holistic nurturing of the intellect. Strolling through the lush, vibrant tapestry of Mali's educational efforts, you see a world that defies modern-day misconceptions about medieval Africa. Instead of a singular focus, you witness an empire rich in diversity of thought, culture, and learning zones. That's impressive, not just for its time, but for ours too. As the echoes of the scholars' debates begin to fade with the setting sun, you might muse that the threads of the Mali Empire's educational practices still weave their way through time, fostering a legacy richer than any caravan's hoard. With thoughts of inquiry, knowledge, and that rooster Abu's inexplicable talent, you journey onward, leaving behind the echoes of a society that understood, perhaps better than most, that education does not belong solely to the ivory towers, but rather flourishes in the fields where curiosity and community grow side by side. Picture yourself trudging along the maze of trade routes crisscrossing the mighty Mali Empire, carried along by the sheer momentum of commerce and curiosity. These routes form a complex web connecting Mali with the far corners of Europe, Egypt, and Asia, a kaleidoscope of cultures, goods, and ideas exchanging hands. You smell the heady aroma of spices mingling with the earthy scent of leather-bound manuscripts, hear the rhythmic clinking of gold coins as merchants barter and exchange, and watch a parade of camels, so stoic they could be mistaken for draped statues if not for their occasional grumpy groans. These beasts of burden tirelessly transport goods day in and day out, carrying everything from salt and gold to that peculiar rhinoceros horn, an odd but highly prized commodity among certain foreign buyers. Now, some quick trivia for you. The Mali Empire managed to include one of the world's longest-standing trade commodities, salt, worth its weight in gold at times. Understatement might be the working language here, for the reach of Mali's trade was truly staggering. But let's not stop at mere commodities. The transfer of knowledge and culture plays a substantial, if not an unappreciated part of this grand exchange. Historians still argue whether the vast expanses of trade actually led to a true cultural homogenization across these sprawling networks or if they simply resulted in a complex tapestry of localized mixes. What flows without dispute, however, is the exchange of scholarly texts and ideologies. Your modern self might imagine this like a Renaissance fair where every merchant stand is actually a library. Scholars, eager as ever, leaned into the wealth of knowledge pouring in from different lands. So, amid the clamor of dinging anvils and the fragrant wafting from the spice stalls, you could wander into a scholarly debate over Aristotle's works, enthusiastically translated and thoughtfully critiqued. On the topic of scholarship, it's not all Euclidean geometry and Plato, though that picture does capture the intellect-cleaving ivory towers of the empire. There's also a quirky cross-cultural twist, manuscripts featuring commentaries on local traditions and folklore, replete with both wisdom and a touch of eccentricity, were just as likely to sit alongside those famed classics. The merchants and scholars carrying these scrolls were like the ancient predecessors to your multiverse traveling book club. Imagine stopping by one of the bright courtyards in Walata or Timbuktu. Here, you witness debates that might put your fiercest high school debates to shame, a blend of banter and intellect, perhaps lubricated by some peculiar local beverage that could give coffee a run for its buzz-inducing money. Moments like these became hotbeds for cultural fermentation, an intellectual bazaar energizing the empire's residents long before Red Bull ever became a thing. While we're all pondering timelines, don't blink, or you might miss the medieval parallel universe unfolding. Consider this: our friends in the Mali Empire were part of a network so advanced that it resonates even in today's modern trade systems. Yet, there's always a catch. Consider those very trade routes, prone to banditry in extreme weather conditions, sometimes required as much bravery as wit to navigate. Fancy trying your luck? Beyond these challenges, another layer of intrigue unfolds: the social contracts that made such expeditions possible. Caravans were not just random assemblages of traders but complex enterprises featuring multifaceted networks of financiers, insurers, and even early forms of corporate responsibility. The diamond-studded crown jewel of the Mali trade nexus once glittered with tales of fairy tale riches, but it's essential to remember the human grit: hands burnt by the desert sun, eyes squinted against omnipresent sand, mouths dry despite knowing a river lies beyond those towering dunes. Despite the obvious hurdles, one miraculous thing the trade webs of Mali accomplished was making humor and laughter commodities of their own. Remember those merchants peddling rhino horns earlier? Imagine one of them sidling up to you, perhaps trying to sell a makeshift flea circus on the side. Despite the survivalist urgency, the Malians carried a touch of humor in their baggage, even if packed beside those slightly alarming talismans from unknown urban legends, stories fit to rival Harry Potter's darker corners. Of course, when these storied traders returned home, their accumulated tales and mysteries added further luster to their reputations. They became proud cultural ambassadors. You, too, if you'd managed to endure such a journey, might find yourself recounting the glories of distant lands, embellishing where memory fades, and inadvertently becoming a kind of griot. Thus, the trade routes were not merely lifelines, they stitched the global narrative, forming the empire's dynamic pulse. Mali was, above all, a land of connection, its very name evoking vitality, with its veins running through Sahara's shifting sands and onward to the world's distant reaches. As the evening sun dips and casts long shadows over the reddish-brown landscape, your senses fill with the echoes of footsteps and hooves traversing this remarkable network, leaving you to ponder the profound chaos and beauty interwoven in this tangled history. Reflect for a moment on the grandeur and the echoes that whisper through time, as the legacy of the Mali Empire stretches its golden fingers into the present day. Picture this: the empire's wealth, amassed through gold trade and the shrewd governance of its leaders, creating ripples in history that turned into the waves that shape economies and cultures even now. You know, kind of like that one high school rumor that inexplicably manages to survive across generations. Consider how Mansa Musa's legendary pilgrimage left behind tales of riches so vast that he inadvertently devalued gold in Egypt for a decade. Now there's a small hiccup for you. This act alone thrust the Mali Empire onto the world stage, adjusting not just the maps but also the minds of traders, scholars, and leaders worldwide. This legendary voyage sparked curiosity about Africa's wealth and cultural depth, leading to increased interactions with the wider world, just like when a new phone model drops and everyone suddenly wants to know every detail about it. Historians continue to debate whether the empire's decline began due to internal strife, external pressures, or just simply the entropic dance of time unraveling all things. You might imagine Timbuktu's manuscripts, each a treasure trove of medieval knowledge, still being rediscovered today, whispering secrets to scholars about astronomy, medicine, and mathematics. It's like finding an old mixtape buried in your closet and realizing all the songs are timeless classics. In another light, however, the empire's profound educational and scientific contributions remain less tangible yet fiercely impactful. The institutions of Timbuktu harbored knowledge and scholarly exchange that could rival any university in the world, and today's education systems, especially in Africa, still echo with the empire's commitment to learning. Like a teacher's long-gone wise words that continue to pop up in your head when you least expect it, guiding you through life's little conundrums. Yet, not all aspects of the empire's legacy are bathed in the golden glow of nostalgia. There's a narrative concerning its palaces and bureaucracies that hints at the typical power struggles, reminiscent of modern-day office politics on an imperial scale. These are tales of intrigue and ambition, where the course of history could pivot on a decision as small as signing the wrong parchment, similar to sending an email to the entirely wrong mailing list. Oops! Even the natural world seemed to weave Mali's tale into its fabric, as the Niger River wends its way through time, mirroring the ebb and flow of the empire's very lifeblood. They say that cobalt birds still glide over waters that teem with stories of age-old fishermen and farmers who laid the groundwork for sustainable practices that affect communities even now. If we dig a bit deeper, the unique combination of spiritual and practical wisdom from the Mali Empire helped shape cultural norms well beyond its borders. The griots, with their songs and stories, ensured that these customs weren't lost to the sands of time. Who knew that those rhythmical stories were, in a way, marking the history of one of the world's greatest empires, like the ultimate greatest hits album? In today's sepia-tinted memories of Mali, it's not just the sands of the Sahara or the splendor of its kings that linger, but the very pulse of a society that valued unity, art, and intellect. It's a triumph of the human spirit over the inevitable decay, like that favorite pair of shoes you can't seem to throw away because they remind you of all the cool places you've walked. As you think about all this, imagine your place in this grandeur. You'll find Mali still quietly echoing through the ages, nudging the world with ancient yet potent reminders of its accomplishments. the empire's legacy truly is a network of ideas that thread through the loom of time, a tapestry still visible in today's evolving cultures and economies. And now, let's ease into stillness, shedding the complexities of history like a weary traveler discarding a well-worn cloak. Imagine lying back beneath the vast, starry African sky with echoes of the griot's song still lingering like the gentle hum of bees in a sun-drenched meadow. Feel the warmth of the earth beneath you, as the ancient rhythm of the Mali Empire's heartbeat harmonizes with the slow, steady cadence of your own breath. In the quiet of your mind, let go of the grand tales and the bustling markets. Let the mighty Niger River, no longer a challenge to navigate but a tranquil stream in your thoughts, guide you to a deep, restful place. The vivid colors of Africa, the gold, the ebony, the cerulean skies, gently blur and blend into the serene canvas of night. The history that once rushed past like a spirited caravan now slows, each moment stretching languidly as though time itself decides to amble along. As the last vestiges of Mali's legacy fade softly into slumber, bring to mind the whisper of those who walked before, their lessons echoing in the landscape of your dreams. The malleable shadows of history pull away, as you sink into a tranquil state of repose, the enigmatic whispers of the past transforming into a soothing lullaby. With a final deep breath and a gentle release, embrace the warmth and peace that accompanies the embrace of sleep, drifting serenely into the embrace of ancient dreams caressing the sands of time.